Welcome Tech enthusiasts, creative mind to another amazing episode on Captured Moment, which I themed this episode on Captured Moment, a photographic odyssey. This podcast brings about creativity, where creativity meets technology. And I'm your host, Olanrewaju Tolu. And with me here, I have Mr. Adebayo. Sharon is a pioneer of the visual storytelling and a documentary photographer. He currently freelances as a photojournalist at Guardian's newspaper, and he has been a force to be reckoned with in terms of specializing in capturing moments of events ranging from weddings to seminars. His brand is also known as the SharonpiXels and has graced a lot of publications and has made waves in various print and social media platforms. Join me as Adebayo shares his journey on unveiling the act of composition and his unique perspective. Hi, welcome, Sharon. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank
Yes,
you for having me
so
on.
you're welcome. So, we're actually discussing unlocking the secret of art of composition through the lens. So, from your own perspective, I want to hear how do you understand talking about compositions, right? How do you understand the aspect of the rule of thought in composition?
Okay, so the aspect of rule of thought. So before diving into all this, I'm sure you understand that this is one of the technical terms in photography. And rule of thought. We have a lot of technical terms in photography, and this is one of them. We have the rule of thought, and as we go on, I feel we'll talk about the remaining one. So starting with the rule of thought, it is very important. As a photographer, you don't just want to go around and shoot like just randomly without having anything to make what you shoot neat, a target neat. So it has to be organized. And rule of thought is one of the things that will help you to do that, make it possible for you to compose your images. So when you have a particular subject, you can be able to position it aright, and be able to put it in the right angle where whenever someone look at your image, they are just going to be directed. It's not like you are kind of this kind of they are seeing some kind of bends, or kind of the eyes is not leading them
Yeah,
to anywhere. They just see everything random. So how I understand the rule of thought to enhance composition is that it's help you to position your subject and make your image more communicative to your viewers. So it's very essential when it comes to some scenarios. You just have to put them. You don't want to just put them in some spaces that you've killed, or you've abandoned some kind of details that is meant to appear in some images. You just abandon it, just shooting just the subject itself. But when it comes to rule of thought, you position it with all the details you want to make to also feature in that image. So rule of thought comes in whether you put it by one side of the left, or you put it at the top right corner. It's kind of a grid line. So that's practical. It's kind of a grid line. So you have two vertical lines, then you have it segmented by two horizontal lines. So you pick the dots. I'm kind of practical now. So you pick the
yeah,
dots
I
to
get.
position your subjects.
So,
So it is very essential. And as we go on, I think we'll discover how other composition comes in. Other terms, I mean,
exactly.
come in as
Yeah,
we
thank you.
embark on composition.
Yeah, so the fact where you mentioned it's being neat, being arranged, you want to direct the eyes of the whoever is looking at your photograph and trying to make it in a much more neat way. So moving on, the question of composition, yes, we've talked about rule of thought. Now moving on to leading lines. What do you understand on the concept of leading lines? Yeah, most people that are just coming into photography must have heard of rule of thumb, which you've just explained. Now, the concept of leading line in photography and how did they contribute in creating those visually engaging image? So, what's your perspective about leading line? Can you elaborate on it?
All right. So, as I've said, in photography, you should learn to apply all these things. So leading line is one of the techniques used in composition, and leading lines come in. You asked about the application, so we can apply leading lines by first of all seeing it. If you don't have an eye for it, I don't think you'll be able to communicate it in your images. So wherever you go to, you have a lot of locations that there are some hidden leading lines that if you only have the eye, that's when you can see it. So as a photographer, you have to first of all have the eye, have the eyes, and you should have the thoughts. So there's something they say: think before you click, think before you click. So if you first of
Mhm.
all get to a particular vicinity with where you're shooting, and discover these terms, discover where you need to frame your subject. I'm going to another subject now, but let's just stick to the leading line. So discover where the thing you have to discover in a particular environment you're shooting, or in the particular field you're shooting. So there's a lot of things that you can use to you know exemplify these terms. So leading lines is very essential, because when I look at subjects that have leading lines, there's a particular thing directing me to a place when I look at your image. So it's very essential. It's not just taking your viewers to just look at it. It's leading their eyes to a particular point where maybe your subject is, or is taking it to a particular scene where something is happening. So leading lines is kind of, it's just like the way the name says, it leads your eyes towards a particular part, which is the main subject. You get. So leading line is in an elaborate manner, it's actually help in the uniform communication of your viewers towards your subject. You get. So it's very essential in photography, and anyone that actually want to do and apply this have to be yes, as I've said, have the eye. You should be able to discover this. It's not a thing that you get to a point and you say this place is for leading line, this place is for, it's not like that. So you have to be the one to figure that out yourself. And
Also,
if you are able to, how I wish that display some kind of example so you can able to know this. So there are a lot of examples. Just browse on leading line. When you go online, you will see a lot of examples, and we're able
all
to know
right.
what we're talking about.
All right. So we're actually talking about composition, and I was talking about how composition, how in your own view, what do you see the aspect of composition and how does it impact storytelling in the aspect of photographs? How does composition, we spoke about rule of third, we spoke about leading lines, and there are other composition aspects that we will not talk about. But in the whole aspect, how do you think that composition impacts storytelling?
So we've been everything we've been talking about right from time have to do with composition. So now talking about composition itself is incorporating all this we have been saying right from time. It's the leading lines, putting it in, the rule of thought, putting it in. This is all what's actually determine the composition we are talking about. So composition is very essential. Like whatever make you stand out in photography, it's composition, like one of the things that make you stand out. So it is very essential because you are not kind of, I used to tell my guys that there's a difference between cameraman and a photographer. You know, these people, some people just go and take the camera and just shoot for shooting sake. But someone that is after something is going to not just shoot, he's still going to come back and touch and look at the image, and he's going to look and screen, and kind of make sure it is balanced. Still go back to post production, and he's making sure something that is not necessary is actually going out. Then another thing that needs to be physical is copying it in. So there's a lot of things that enhances composition, and whatever make you stand out is in photography remains composition. You don't want to look at images of some presidents and you see that one is kind of you're cutting his hands out of the image, or you are kind of cutting the details of his leg when it needs to be visible, or one leg is showing and the other head is not showing, those type of things. So all these things are really essential when it comes to shooting images. So composition is very necessary. You want to make sure, I at the point of this, I was kind of thinking about bringing in the scenario of an architect. Architects are the kind of people that They're very creative. So as a photographer, you just have to have that kind of creative mindset. You want to have the left. There are sections that where you need there are sections where you need to have the left the same as the right. Like if you see some houses, you don't expect house the one on the left. Like when you split it into two, you don't want to have different things. There's some kind of cases you have to make what is at the left also at the right. So this are kind of a kind of practical way to like segment or talk about composition. That architectural mindset that the way I want this is also the way this place is going to be. So making some places your images equally, setting it right equally. So at some point you also want to create your story, you want to tell your story, and want to frame a particular part. So you don't want to just do it anyhow, like someone that just carry the camera to shoot and a particular photographer that knows about composition. So there should be a difference. So composition should be what you are intentionally putting into your photography. So people are just carrying the camera just to take the scene, but when you come to the scene, you practicalize it to the extent that you know how to position yourself. You don't have to like even squat. You don't have to do some kind of dramatic stuff, because you already understand that this is what I want to achieve. So this is how I position myself. Composition also have to do with angles. There are some particular place you have to spot, you have to spotlight in a particular room where you're shooting, to be able to take that particular scene that will tell full story of what's going on. When you're talking about somebody talking, like somebody in a room pointing to somewhere, you don't want to be taking the image from the back, and the subject the person is pointing to is not even in the image. So your composition is even cutting the person and when he's stretching it. So that's not composed enough. So you should be, I don't know how to say it now. You should know about positioning
Very
when it comes to
important.
composition. You should know about
Exactly.
positioning. So
Yeah.
you don't just want take the camera and stand anywhere and take that picture. So that's why you see photographers, you just see them exploring every angles in the room, and before they get the right composed image. So you have to build up an architectural, like a building mindset, a very creative mindset. Have a creative mindset to be able to fit into these technical terms called composition. So not to say much, applying your rule of thought, applying your leading lines is also part of the composition perspectives.
Yeah, you've actually really delved into even a whole lot as regards being able to, for me, being able to see yourself. How do you want others to see it? What's the visual image you want to present? The positions you need to pick. It has even answered the next question, and I feel like, oh, okay, there's a need for you to understand the visual aspect, for you to understand the positioning where that angle needs to be captured from, which is very important. And well, I know you photographed for a lot of brands, and for you, I feel, because the purpose of this podcast is to actually allow people that are coming into the aspect of photography or even creativity as a whole, the creative industry as a whole, for them to understand the aspect of photography and even composition. So from your own side, I just want to mention most famous photographs that you have seen, or even the people that photograph them, that you can actually share, so people probably can check up on them and say, oh, this person is also doing this. This person is also doing this. So, is there any person, any famous photographs that you've seen, or famous photographs that you want the listeners to actually check out and also probably
So talking about famous photographs and famous photographers, there are a lot of them out there in Nigeria especially. So um I don't know if I'm going to even mention, it's just going to be few. So um basically, okay, personally for me, I have a lot of eye on, like I have an eye on some particular set of photographers, and it's just few. I know if you ask someone else, they're going to tell you a lot, but I will advise you just, if it is going to be better if you stick to a particular one or two. But
yeah.
trying to be like a lot of people is not actually, because in photography is very vast. So you have to determine who you are looking up to, so that it's going to determine how you also create yours. that will help a lot than just going for the portraits. It's going to be helpful, yes, in the verge of as a beginner photographer. It's going to be helpful if you actually explore with different photographers that are doing well in different sections. The portraits, the one that are doing well in portrait, the one that are doing well in politics, the one that are doing well in this thing, lifestyle, the one that are doing well in sports photography. There are a lot of them.
Fashion.
So
Yeah.
for me, when I yeah, fashion. When I got into photography, I have an eye on this documentary photographers, because I know that that is one of the big categories of photography, especially in Nigeria. So I will make mention of Tolani Ali. A lot of people are familiar with her. She was a photographer to the vice president, the former vice president, Yemi Osinbajo, Tolani Ali, and she have an eye on
Yeah.
someone else, Bayo Omoboriwo, which is also the former photographer to the president. So Bayo Omoboriwo is like someone I even have access to now. After he's done, like he's my direct, he's someone I can even walk up to now and ask. I've been working with him lately. So these are documentary photographers, and they actually did a good job documenting the politicians. So these are a few of some of them. I also have for the portrait photography, wedding photography, I have an eye on for the wedding photography. Someone, I shoot weddings also at the same time. I'm a photojournalist, and I also at some point do some commercial. So someone I look up to for wedding photography is one of the person doing well in the industry, which is Big H. If you know him, his name is Henry, but his brand name is Big H. Yeah, so Big H is actually he's a big guy in the industry that is doing well. I also have Emmanuel Yeleke, yeah, for portrait photography and also sports sometimes. He's an ambassador for Canon. These are big leaders, if you hear photographers that are actually influencing people, you will hear their name. Yeah, so Emmanuel Yeleke shoot for Canon. He's an ambassador. I've seen him once. So you see their images, like shooting images in the studio. These people actually know the techniques in light and everything. And talking about this composition of a thing, I think that's what these people apply. When Big H is shooting, you should go check him and you see how he use things around him, to actually apply these techniques to the composition of whatever he found in any location he goes for wedding shoots. Same thing as Bayo, making use of the gardens, making use of the airplanes that these politicians used to go around the world, framing them with every kind of elements they find around them. These are things that these people apply, and whenever you go through their page, you see that it is not just a little thing. They have the high, they have the creative mindset, and they're able to communicate across. So you can't just see that their principle and just see like their picture anyhow. If you discover the picture, I've never seen any blurry or kind of shabby picture of President Muhammadu Buhari, the former president, because of these people take their time to understand the power of storytelling. Storytelling basically, as documentary photographers, they do storytelling. So
Yeah.
you don't just want to shoot images that will just show Buhari, that will just show him he's talking. You want to also frame it with the theme of the program he went for. When walking into the door, you want to frame it with the particular theme of the event or of the conference. You don't just want to frame him his face. You are just seeing the face. Photography is more than that. There are elements around. We don't talk about elements. So there are elements around, elements that also help you in composition. You don't want to like close your eyes to this one is not necessary. You have to be very technical. You have to be very smart enough to discover things in every environment you go to shoot. So these people are the people I can actually say few of them in photojournalism as well to beginner photographer. You should know the one you want to go for. Okay, me, I choose this part. So doesn't mean when you now choose this, eventually you will be fine. So you should know what works fine for you. There are some photographers, they end up only in the studio and they are really good at it when it comes to the studio. And you can't expect me to be as good as those ones in the studio. Yes, I shoot in the studio, but you can't compare me with someone that really major in the studio and he has already know the light setups and everything. You get so
Mm-hmm.
pick your own person, pick your these people will also help you pick the niche when you eventually say let me even try this and you see that man is stressful. You don't want to bring I have mentors, I have some kind of instructors that an instructor told me you just let wedding photography go because he cannot, like, he just admit that, see, it is not for him. And it is it like it's not for him because how you be shooting and be saying I'm rushing, it's killing the creative prospect in that kind of job. So he just had to forgo it and be like, he's not doing wedding photography again. He's just going to focus on his studio portrait and everything. And it's fine, he's doing well. So basically, you don't have to do everything. But at the point of getting what you want to do, you try everything. That is just it. So these are the few examples I think I can mention. You can go online and search more. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think you've actually delved more into the aspect of choosing your own niche in photography and even choosing the people you want to look up to, the mentors you want to look up to. Yeah, so I feel as composition is there, we also need to understand the aspect of colors. So I feel, what do you think is the role of color play in composition, and how can photographers make use of these colors to enhance that visual impact of their image? So what's the role of color in composition?
The complementary colors. I think there's in my last workshop, I was told, I was trained by um yeah, luckily, like, I was trained by fashion, someone that is close to also this fashion photography, and understanding color for him. He even went to the extent of showing us some apps that make you to understand how to mix the app that show
Colors.
you how to mix the secondary colors and everything. You get when kind of setting up for your clients in the studio and everything. So there are kind of there's a lot of techniques to this color thing. You should be able to understand when you want to shoot someone. The cloth must be able to, it's going to be so advantageous for you if you are able to pick the particular backdrop that will work and align with the color of the cloth the person is shooting with. So your subject matters. Was the kind of flow, was the kind of combination. At some point, it should be so good to even kind of select, and it depends on how you work on it. For me now, I'm still working on mine because at some point I even browse. If I want to wear my clothes some days, I kind of browse and be like, does this color go? Before Google now tell me, okay, these are the colors that go with this. So these are the practical things you can do in knowing how to communicate with
Communicate
colors.
colors.
So that's the mile of it. Color is another kind of aspect that you have to be. If you really want to deal with fashion photography, you have to intentionally go know how to put
Understand.
merge and put them right so that it's not like you're communicating. Yes, creativity comes in some kind of crazy things, that way they call creativity, but at the same time you still have to
Yeah.
go and learn the kind of technical the technical parts for coloring when it comes to shooting photographs.
Exactly. Thank you very much. I think you've actually done some little, because understanding colors while photography and even compositing your images is really important. Yeah. So the last question before the second to the last question before we end, the aspect of because this podcast has to intertwine between creativity and tech. So the aspect of the post-processing software, how do you feel it has influenced the way photographers approach composition? That's in terms of this post-processing softwares, the likes of Photoshop, the likes of Lightrooms and other post-processing software. So what do you think? How do you feel in your own perspective has influenced the approach to?
So yeah, you mean post production? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has helped a lot. It has helped a lot because so frankly speaking, you can be a photographer and you don't know how to use all this um post production apps and everything, and that will actually affect you. You can have the best gears in the world and shooting with them, but what makes you stand out is what you do at the back after shooting. That's what I feel. Yeah. So I got to meet Bayo Mobile, the former presidential photographer, and he understood this. He's a very um he's a documentary photographer full of concepts. He's there. Let's just say, yeah, he's there. So, but imagine him saying he had to fly, like he had to pay, like make sacrifice to make sure he learn how to edit. So editing is another aspect in photography. So you are not just a photographer. Whatever make you stand out is what you touch in your image. So any image that you see like flying out there doing well, most of them are done in the post production place. So like you asked, the apps and for post production has actually served well. Has actually served well because it helps you to you know make some kind of scenarios where it was so rough. Because like let me explain, like maybe some scene that is kind of fast. You don't have the time to start balancing yourself. You just have to put your camera like and take the shot. That's just it. Take the shot. That's what that scenario is about because it's a kind of a twinkle of an eye moment. So whatever is going to make that type of image to come out well is in the place of post production. You get so in the post production place, you are going to be able to crop out wherever you don't want to be visible in type of scenario because we were all rushing, we were all rushing and I was not able to get a balanced image. So post production help you to balance whatever you have already shot. So and also color grading, filling some colors you don't want to, there are some things you don't want to be so visible. Like there are some colors that is so harsh, you just want to reduce it. You get so in the
Yeah,
case of
yeah.
lighting, maybe there was a blue light when you were shooting. You get so you want to control those type of lights. So post production helps a lot to affect that. So um these are kind of yes for tech. I don't know how to relate it to tech. They are actually doing well. So there are some of them are conversant with a particular one. Some of them are not. Some of them are not yet flexible with it. So the only thing I can say can help is how to navigate your ways. There are few classes that will actually talk about this post production thing, and the only thing I can actually advise is you can go online how to explore these apps. We have Lightroom, we have Photoshop, we have Caption One, we have Pixel. Some of them on the mobile apps, on the mobile store you get. So these things we all started. I started from the phone, the mobile apps using Snapseed to put cloud on my stuff. So this app help to it's either help to spoil your image and also help to enhance your image. It depends on you. You have to be also carrying that creativity you used to shoot, take it also to the post production arena. So in enhancing post processing software has transformed the creative landscape for photography. So it has actually transformed the creative landscape. So it offers versatile sets of tools to refine. It refines your work after going out. It refines your composition. It elevates the composition after you've done it in a manual setup. That's when you are holding the camera. It has elevated the approach towards composition, allowing photographers to push boundaries of their artistic expression. You get to go beyond the boundaries of the manual one. It helps you to even kind of manipulate. You get some
Exactly.
kind of things into your images, and people are going to be like, how? When people see that image, they'll be like, how can this be? It puts people in a very trickish kind of introspection. Like, how could this be? The story you're telling was so wow. Some photographers are actually majoring on that. I've forgotten this guy name on IG that you see sometimes he brings some kind of hospital this thing from the Bible. He snaps does the man, but he goes back and manipulates, and you see that there's a kind of a covering in his mouth. I don't know if you have seen that picture. There's a covering in his mouth coming out from the
Yeah.
Holy Bible. The man is holding. Kind of that's his breath. So those are kind of communicating stuff that the production
Yes.
can
All
help to
right.
communicate. You get so there's a lot of them to explore in
Yeah.
the post production. So it's a very good
Okay.
tool
Okay.
for photography.
So quick one. Can you like for people that are just coming into the photography landscape. Can you kindly like list the post processing softwares that you have come across, or and so that people can actually get it to know it again?
Oh, okay. So to discuss um post processing software, there are a lot of them. A lot of them. Well, basically in the multitude of, I don't know how the Bible says, but I don't really prescribe.
The one that
I
is
don't really
that best,
prescribe.
the one that best applies to you, the one
Okay.
that you feel
So
you've worked with.
all right. So um I came across some contents and be like, some people are using this, some people are using that, but you should just, whatever you feel works for you, just stick to it. So I would prescribe Lightroom. Lightroom helps for
Okay.
your coloring and sharpening your image. I also use Photoshop. Yeah, Photoshop inevitably. If you really want to do the retouching and everything, you just have to learn how to use Photoshop. It's very trickish and tempting and vast. So you have to go through the training before you actually have to start doing something on those apps. Photoshop. So you can use Photoshop on your mobile phone and also on your PC. And I also know about Capture One. Capture One can be used in replacement for Lightroom, and Lightroom can also be used in replacement of
Capture.
Capture One. So it depends on the one you go for. So the most prominent one I know about is, I think, Lightroom, and I use it. So maybe
Hmm.
in the future
All right.
I can decide to change. It's about exploring. It's about exploring. So
Yeah, yeah.
for mobile you can use Snapseed. For mobile, like on your phone, you can download Snapseed. I started with that, frankly speaking. You can
Hmm.
use what again? PixArt. There are a lot of them. Like if you just say editing app, you're going to see a lot of options, and it's
Exactly.
tempting
Yeah. Yeah,
because
yeah.
a lot of effects are there for you to apply into your image. And as a beginner photographer, you're tempted to put everything. When you see vibrance, you kind of put it to the end. When you see saturation, you put it to the end. So it's very tempting. So don't be so hasty to actually, you know, there's something that happens when you start touching your image. When you see a kind of visible effects when you start editing, you kind of wow, and just move it to the end and be like wow. Then from there, you forget to even think that it's too much or not too much. You just push it
Too
out,
much.
and
Exactly.
that's what beginner photographers, and it is it is something valid, and yes, it's something valid and viable that happens to every beginner photographer, especially when you start with your phone. So, but not everybody happens to like that. So, what you should, yes, do the mistakes. Like, feel free to do the mistakes and be ready to get correction and improve as time goes on. Yes, increase it, do everything. Wow, wow, and even upload it. Like, do your thing. You get, so from there you start seeing comments and be like, yes, it is nice, but try to do this. And from there you get, you know, how to adjust. And from there you start discovering what you like when you want to edit your picture, what you want to increase, what you want to decrease. From there. So explore. That's what I would just say. Explore as much as you can, but at the end
Exactly.
you're going to discover the one you have to settle for.
Exactly. Thank you very much. I think you've actually spoken a whole lot, and it has actually been. I hope it will help our listeners and those that are listening to this podcast to be able to see the need of making the right choice. It might work for someone, it might not work for you. So just pick which one works well for you. So in conclusion, I just want you to give like a just piece of word that would encourage those coming into photography, even those in photography, and those that are just trying to learn in the intermediate level. So, what would be your gentle word of advice to them in the journey of photography?
So okay. It is a very you're putting me in the spot question. Oh god. So I'll just try my best. So yeah, welcome to everyone everybody coming to photography newly. I'll say you're welcome. Nobody actually told me welcome when I was coming. So, but hearing this from me is you're welcome. So, one thing I would like to say, to someone coming up with, because we all started from somewhere. So, um, one thing I would like to say is that be intentional about what you want to do. You get
Mm.
there are times and where you're coming into. Photography looks simple in some people's eyes, but understand that the way you take this photography of a thing, if you the way you handle it is also how you handle a lot of things you will come across in life. So I was telling someone yesterday, the little thing um matters. The little thing matters. So if the way you carry this thing is how you are going to go far. So you have to be very intentional to come into this and know that yes, I am actually doing photography. And eventually, when you are in, you will have every reason to even stop. You have
Mm.
every reason to not even hype yourself. But one thing I'll tell you is that don't be discouraged. You start up, you don't even know, you have never been to a workshop class, you have never been to anybody calling you to come and say, this is how to do it. Don't give up. See, one thing that helped me was at everything, no matter, I started with like shooting with, I started shooting with my phone. Like the least phone I had then, that was the only thing I had to shoot. So whatever you have, that is the right time to start. That's what I'm going to tell every beginner. You're not going to start with the best camera in the world. You're going to start with that thing in your hand. So whatever you have, give you every reason to start. So start with what you have and be ready to improve. Be ready, open your mind to whatever comes in. So start with what you have, continue doing what you have to do to get there, and have the mindset that very soon I will hit it. So that type of mindset will make you to continue. You get so you have to continue whatever you do in life. Consistency is very key. So shoot those things that inspire you. Wow, this is beautiful. Take up your phone and touch it, like, and shoot it. I mean, so shoot it with your phone, see how it looks, push it out there. You know, write some stories about it. That's what helped me. From there I started sending wallpapers to my friends, and they started, those type of little things that you do are putting impression on people and be like, wow, my friend knows how to shoot. My friend, those type of kind of those little things that I even talk about you. It's something because you are kind of even not saving for now. You are kind of saving for the future because very soon in the future they will announce you because of what the little thing you started like doing for them while you are still with them. So the word is just be intentional. Just do what you have to do at this time. You don't have to wait for the future is coming. I will start when I grow up. So do whatever you have to do with what you have now and continue, be consistent, and don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged. Plot with people that will push you up there. Try to be
Yeah.
intentional in connecting with people that will help you,
Yeah.
and just be open minded because a lot of things will come to bring you down. But an open mind will be able to pick up himself again and go up. So your camera, the one you have, is the best camera. From there, you can now start seeing how you can get better cameras. From there, you get so build up yourself in being creative first before getting the best gears. You get build up yourself in being creative. Have that eyes. You can start thinking first with your mind, like start thinking before you actually get that camera that will make you
Exactly.
like show exactly what was in your head. So
Exactly.
start with your phone, start with the small camera you have, start with the small light you have, and you can do a lot more with whatever you have. That's just the thing. So when you hit it, you even look back and be like, yes, this is how I started, and you'll be able to tell someone else to start like that. So I think not to say much, just you're welcome. Just do what you have to do to make sure
Exactly.
you're there, and definitely we will get there.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I believe you guys have heard a whole lot, and this is really amazing. Even trying to be intentional. The key word is intentionality, and I believe once you're intentional about anything, those things just keep pushing you to want to continue, even when it gets to a point where the stretch point, you are still intentional, you still want to continue about those things. So we've actually heard from Adebayo Sharon, and he's a documentary photographer. And I want you to actually subscribe to the Create podcast, share this podcast with someone, and let them know that yes, I listened to this podcast and I was inspired. So next time I'll see you again. stay creative, and stay positive. Thank you very much.